بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Alhamdulillah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us to be still alive to receive another blessed month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you all Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in knowledge. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow you to be among the chosen one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has really recognized those who come to love to know how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with knowledge. Alhamdulillah, the Fiqh of Fasting series has started last Ramadan. And this year we're going to continue. However, I'm going to dedicate today, only today, inshallah. I know some of my students from last year have joined, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. So I ask for their patience, inshallah ta'ala, that today's, inshallah, session will be just a review. I think it's a great thing to review with all, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So if you have, I'm gonna maybe give you just inshallah a few seconds to grab. I'm sure that you already have a paper and a pen, or you have your laptop to take some notes. It is very important to go through those as really more of an introduction to fasting. And for those who just joined us, inshallah ta'ala, today, this year, and were not able to join us last year, it would not come as a heavy material on them. So they have some, inshallah ta'ala, information to build on it, inshallah. So if you have just like a few seconds to grab a paper and a pen, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So now we want to review together, inshallah ta'ala, what we have covered last year. So inshallah, we're going to first start with, so it's going to be in a format of question and answer. So the first question is, what is the Islamic definition of fasting? And we answered, abstaining from that which breaks one's fast during daytime from dawn to sunset. So someone will ask, what does break the fast? We're going to go into that, inshallah ta'ala, later on in detail. But that's what it means. From Fajr time until Maghrib time, we should avoid anything that breaks the fasts. What are the pillars of fasting? That's the second question. Abstaining from desires of the stomach and the sexual relations. Abstaining from that which breaks one's fast. Again, we're going to go through those. And also, the Malikis and the Shafi'is have also added the intention. So without intention, that breaks the fast. It doesn't count. So inshallah ta'ala, I'm not going to go into like deep details of the fuqaha and the scholars' opinion, because that's going to take many more sessions. So inshallah ta'ala, just more of refreshing our memory, inshallah. What is the ruling of fasting the month of Ramadan? Is it mandatory? Is it obligatory? Well, mandatory and obligatory is the same, but is it optional or what have you? Can we just break it and pay some money instead and what have you? Of course, the fasting the month of Ramadan is one of the pillars of the Islamic faith, and it is obligation, which means it's mandatory, and we cannot break it just because we don't feel like it. There has to be another legitimate reason why we break it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that allows those legit reasons to break the fast. So it's not up to us to decide. So what are the types of fasting in general? So we have obligatory fast, we have voluntarily fast, we have a makruh fast, like a disliked. It's not recommended to fast those. So now I'm skipping through some of the questions because they just go into more details of types of like examples that we discussed during the class of some obligatory fast, like Ramadan or the makeup of missed days of Ramadan. Those are all obligatory. So When is it ever considered to be haram or prohibited to fast, actually? So, are there days that are haram to fast other than Eid days? So, we know that during Eid days, Eid al Fitr and Eid al Adha, it is haram, absolutely haram to fast. We cannot fast those days. Now, when is it haram also to fast? Some scholars have chosen the opinion that a voluntarily fast of a wife without the consent of her husband, like let's say her husband was on travel and he came back home and he doesn't want her to be fasting, but she insisted that she wants to fast on that day, just voluntarily, it's not mandatory, then that voluntarily becomes impermissible. It's haram because it just goes against his wishes. Since it's voluntarily, it can be done, outside of days that maybe he's available around her and he wants to spend time with her. So that's the where it is. It becomes from voluntarily, it becomes haram. Also, fasting the day of doubt, just like yesterday. Remember, we announced that inshallah Tuesday, alhamdulillah, today is the first day of Ramadan. And it has been recognized even with those who use calculations and those who use moon sighting. It's the same thing. They're coming back, everybody, to say Ramadan will be on Tuesday, which is today. Some people will decide, let me fast Monday, which is yesterday, just in case if the moon sighting was wrong or something. That is haram. We can't do that because it's a worship act. We cannot say just in case. Same thing like prayer and everything. We cannot, start a prayer of Salatul Dhuhr, finish it, and then you say, let me pray Dhuhr one more time and a third more time and a fourth more time just to be sure that I got it right. We can't. Just we do worship acts once because Allah said once. We cannot repeat it. We cannot start it earlier. We cannot start it after. It has to be done when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided. Of course, like a sister that is going through her monthly cycle cannot fast. That's haram. So like during Ramadan, some of our sisters, they get really downsided just because they are missing out on praying the days of Ramadan. So they cannot say, I'm just gonna fast anyway. So they can definitely refrain from eating and drinking, but they cannot have the intention that I'm fasting actually this day, and they do the exact same process as if they are fasting. So they have to have the niyyah that they're not fasting. This is how, subhanAllah, unique it is, because Allah said during her monthly cycle she should not be fasting. Okay, inshallah ta'ala. Now we want to talk about some disliked fasts. Some disliked fasts are fasting every day, singling out Friday, singling out Saturday, fasting the day of doubt that we just talked. These are disliked to a point that they might become haram if someone has the intention that I want to do it anyway. Fasting a day or two before Ramadan, according to the majority of opinion, like same thing. People just start fasting these days just to be sure. Okay, alhamdulillah. So now we talked about this. We're going to skip the voluntarily and the details of it. Now we will talk, inshallah ta'ala, about is it permissible to start a voluntarily fast day, then break it without an excuse? So in general, I would summarize it into two opinions. One opinion, whoever enters a voluntarily fast day must complete it. If he or she does not, he or she must make it up. So some scholars think because we intended to do a voluntarily day and there is no reason to break it, then it has to be completed. The other opinion says no, voluntarily day is voluntarily day. So during the day, somebody feels that, I just want to break the fast. Honestly, I feel like I want to have lunch with my family and whatever. They say that there is no problem. And we lean toward this opinion, honestly, because voluntarily fast is voluntarily fast. I think the other scholars went more of high respect to the fact that you started a day of fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should not break it without, a legit reason. Now, we talked about vowed fast. Vowed fast is someone that it becomes obligatory for vowed fast. Someone says, I'm going through very difficult time. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, permits and gets me out of this, inshallah, as of an appreciation, I will thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by fasting a whole week. Now that promise becomes obligatory, so they cannot go back on that. Second is the expiation fasts of what we call the kafara. Somebody misses a day of Ramadan because of a reason, legit reason, then they have to make it up later on. That's a make-up fast. And we have also the kafara, the expiation. The make-up day is obligatory, and the kafara is, for example, if someone swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and does not fulfill his promise, and he breaks his promise, then it becomes obligatory on that person to have several options. One of those, either to feed 10 of the poor and needy, or one of the option is to fast 3 days. So those 3 days become obligatory. It's not really optional, because he did not feed the poor and what have you, or bring them clothes or what have you. They did not choose any of that options because he doesn't afford it, and he cannot afford feeding 10 people. Then it becomes a must on him to fast those 3 days. That's called kafara and expiation. Okay, inshallah. These are like more of outlines, inshallah ta'ala. Of course, last year we went into really deep details on those. We went into deep details also on the methodology of sighting the moon. But honestly, it's not the place for it now. But we went into deep details of the opinions of the scholars of how do we bring in the month, like how do we decide, how do we view the moon, is it, how many people have to say it, and what have you. Inshallah ta'ala, those of you who are interested, you can always connect with me and email me, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah, we'll have, if you cannot access my email, or you don't have it, inshallah, we'll have it for you next time. So I can send you the slides from last year. So we're going to skip, inshallah ta'ala, the methodologies of moon sighting and how to confirm it and what have you, inshallah ta'ala, and the differences of opinion and all the that pertains. That took like almost 3 or 4 sessions last year, so we really went into details of it. Now, of course, who is obligated to fast? We say that, first of all, it has to be a Muslim. A person has to reach the age of puberty, and sanity is very important, like a sane person, and the ability, of course, someone who is fully healthy, alhamdulillah, and to be local, to be resident, not to be on travel and what have you. These are, in general, the summary of the opinions of many of the scholars. Remember, some scholars added the intention and what have you, but these are like the main ones. And we always learned in this class, and we're gonna continue doing that we always take the cautious opinion. So someone says, adds to it intention, we say, alhamdulillah, we take the intention. To fast, of course, every day. What are the conditions of fasting according, in general, those conditions that I gave you, I'm sorry, I was reading more of the details of like pertaining to each school of thought, which we'll not cover today. What we just mentioned is like what is by consensus by all the school of thoughts. What are Bismillah, is purification from janaba required to start the fast? Janaba is when someone is in a state of impurity, which is a state that could be very possible We say like unmarried people, it pertains to them having a wet dream, and they wake up in the morning and they find themselves that they had a wet dream. That's called a state of janaba, impurity, but that's like a major state of janaba. Allah, with His wisdom, required that just a normal wudu is not sufficient. It has to be a full bath or like a shower, which means that the water will just go to every part of the body. So it could be a quick shower as long as the water just like the normal shower that we take every day, that's sufficient, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. The second is that if married people, husband and wife had intercourse together at night, this puts them in a state of janaba. It requires also a full bath or a shower that would get the water throughout their body parts. So those are, would it be must to start, like let's say some married people or single people, they woke up, let's say after Fajr, right before Fajr, let's say two options, before Fajr, like 10 minutes or half an hour before Fajr. Do they have to, they only have 20 minutes, whether they eat their suhoor or they go take a shower? No, they can eat their suhoor and start their fast, no problem. But they need to go, of course, and take a shower in order to start their prayers and what have you for Fajr prayer. What if they wake up after Fajr time? They did not eat their suhoor. They woke up after Fajr, found themselves with a wet dream, or like husband and wife already had sexual relationship at night and they woke up after Fajr. Of course, they are in a state of impurity. Would that invalidate their fast? No, it would not. But they need to take shower in order to do Salatul Fajr prayer, inshallah ta'ala. So that's in short, brings all the opinions, inshallah. And we talked about the intention, and the intention is, we say we take the, is that every day when we, at night, we know that inshallah we're going to fast the day after, and at suhoor time, we know that we are taking this suhoor, inshallah ta'ala, to start another day of fast. So there are sunnah acts. Sunnah means optional, that it's preferable to do, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us to do. And there are mandatory acts. The sunnah acts is suhoor, the meal that we do in the morning before we start our fasting process. Another sunnah is at Maghrib time, is that we don't delay breaking the fast 10 minutes just to make sure. No, actually we break right on time. Allah loves it that way. So Allah wants that happiness to come to people who are fasting so they can eat and drink, inshallah. These are permissible, which means that someone can start the fast without suhoor, right? Some people rather to sleep that extra hour rather than waking up for suhoor, whatever. Allah created us differently. They do not have to have suhoor. Is it permissible to delay iftar? We said no, it has to be the break of fast has to be on time, inshallah. And of course, from the permissible act is to say some authentic dhikr and dua before we break the fast and after we break the fast. And dua is best of what has been recorded that Prophet ﷺ said. If not, then anything is, inshallah ta'ala. Allah loves any type of dua. So you can do anything from your heart, inshallah. Providing iftar for others is a virtuous act and a sunnah. And it can be for poor, for needy, that's just optional, or it could be for your friends and relatives. So anybody that eats from your food, this is a sunnah act, inshallah, and it's preferable act. Now, about what we talked about, the state of janaba, impurity, we said that the fast is valid to start it while someone is in state of impurity. However, from the righteous and virtuous act is if that person has time to actually take a shower and start his or her fast with without being in a state of impurity. So they take a shower and they start their Fajr, inshallah ta'ala, ready to go and to pray, inshallah. So they are complete pure, inshallah. Physically, that is, just their body and what have you. Um, of course, from the Sunnah act is to refrain. And those Sunnah acts, so we can, because of the time, you can know anything that's opposite of it, it means disliked act. Okay? So if it's Sunnah to break the fast on time, it is disliked to not break it on time. Now we say we refrain from lying, from backbiting, from cussing, from bad language, from getting upset, from anger issues, from being short-tempered, from screaming and yelling, from arguing with others, from quarreling with others, fights and what have you, road rage. All that is something that is also haram outside of Ramadan, but specifically during fast, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants and meant for fast to discipline us, to bring us to a higher level of iman, inshallah ta'ala. So it becomes definitely, it's a sunnah to be truthful and to do, and it is the opposite of it would be very bad and disliked, and that is to lie and to yell and to shout and what have you. Now, inshallah ta'ala, we are going to, these are all like proofs that we had for all this that we talked about. Now, a question is it, we know that we should know that it is haram during the time. What are the things that breaks the fast? So as we start at Fajr time, we cannot drink, we cannot eat, we cannot have, spouses cannot have intercourse together during the daytime. We cannot intentionally throw up because I feel my stomach is aching, so we stick our finger in so we can throw up and get relieved. We cannot do that on purpose. And we cannot also masturbate also for men and for women and what have you. All that desires and pleasures that brings to someone cannot, that all invalidates the fast. As we said, lying and whatever, those are disliked acts. Allah doesn't like them, but they do not actually invalidate the fast. طيب, we also Bismillah. So is it okay? We said it's not okay to have sexual relationship during the day. Is it okay to kiss and embrace spouses together and what have you? The answer is yes, it's okay, as long as they know that they are in full control. They do not allow that act to kind of stimulate their desires and what have you. But alhamdulillah, if they know themselves very well, by all means, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want people who are fasting to be to stay away from each other and to disconnect and not to have any type of intimate relationship, but rather this lovely relationship of being together and sitting next to each other and being always with that affection is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. But as long as it does not cross the line where it can lead them to do the major haram, which is very big, because we said to rectify, and the kafara for that is very, very extreme. Allah meant it that way. So people take very, very, very disciplinary, cautious acts against it. And that is if actually it happens and they have intercourse during the day time of fasting, they end up having to fast 60 days, 60 continuous days. They cannot, have any break in between. It is very difficult. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted people to stay away from it. Now, we talked in details about the order of expiation. So is there a room to do one before the other? And that is something that will be available on the slides and with full details and proofs, inshallah ta'ala. My students who attended last year, they have these slides, but if for some reason or another you lost it and you don't have it anymore, uh, let me know, inshallah. Email me and I will, inshallah ta'ala, send it back to you, bi'iznillah. Okay, inshallah. Now we have, with the time left, so this year, the fiqh of fasting is really reduced to half an hour, because last year I was taking almost hour and a half with my students, but we wanted to be very sensitive to your precious time and to your busy schedule as well. I know most of my students, mashallah, may Allah reward you all. I would say most, if not all. I'm not sure about the new people that just joined this year, but my previous year students, they're all married people, so they have like very busy schedule. They have family, they have to look after the affairs of the house, they have to go to work, they have to cook, they have to do everything, they have to do all their chores. Despite that, we went really through deeply of details. So this year we decided to reduce it to to half an hour, but it would not allow a session of question and answer. But inshallah ta'ala, you are always welcome to reach out to me after class, and by email or what have you. That's one way. Second way is we have now a new program, which is Ask the Imams, every day, also Monday through Thursday at 7 o'clock. So using your it, I think tonight, inshallah ta'ala, it will be Imam Abu Talib. You can use your Instagram app, and you need to send your question ahead of time. We receive it and we answer it. Now, if there are not many questions, we can take some questions live, inshallah ta'ala. But that's another platform that you can ask your questions. But if it's specifically pertaining to our class, you can always directly ask me through the class and we will answer it. Okay, now, Bismillah. We will talk, inshallah ta'ala, during next session's details, but today was just more of a review of last year, inshallah. We wanted to, I think the last thing that I want to share with you, I'm skipping the details ones. Okay, so now I think what's left, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is some of the disliked acts that I did not mention, which I said the opposite of the Sunnah act. So what about the things that I did not mention? So I'll go through some of them, inshallah ta'ala, so we can, inshallah, have a full picture of it. Because we talked about the recommended acts, and of course there are many other recommended acts that you're so aware of, like reading the Quran, seeking knowledge like you're doing right now, mashallah ta'ala. Remember, everything: reading Quran, seeking knowledge, ibadah, worship acts, dhikr, remembrance. Anything opposite of it is disliked, meaning that if someone just fasts without reading the Quran, without connecting with Allah, without worshiping, without remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it becomes disliked, because Ramadan is for you to better off yourself, not to just act like I just want to refrain from water and food. Now, some of the disliked acts that I did not mention to you because it does not come along or aside with the Sunnah, is that we discussed the issue of brushing teeth with toothpaste. We said with a siwak, which is a stick that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to clean his teeth, and also good for the gum as well. That is no problem at all, because Prophet ﷺ used it and Allah allowed it. Second, it does not have a flavor, it does not stimulate the saliva and what have you. But toothpaste, we had an issue with it. I know that some scholars have allowed it, but we learned last year that those scholars that have allowed it, they allowed it with a restriction, saying that with the understanding that whoever does that need to make sure that they don't swallow that taste, sugary taste. And then we really discussed it, and I had my students even review and research. We found it very difficult to find this is practical. How are we going to get rid of that sugary taste? Whereas people who ask these questions are intentionally asking the questions to use the sugary taste toothpaste in order to get rid of the what we call the bad smell to others. But to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves it because it's being done for His sake. But to avoid bothering others, they want to use it in order to get rid of that smell. So it's that sugary flavor, it's all the other ingredients that gets rid of that smell, temporarily, of course. So the question is, how are we going to be able to control to use it but not to be able to swallow that sugary taste? And we also talked about that some physicians who have Shari'i background and Islamic background said that the sugary taste, the ingredients actually gets absorbed from under the tongue and go through the bloodstream, and that is very problematic. And maybe some of the scholars that allowed it didn't think about it that way because they don't have that medical background, but rather, I'm sure if they have asked the physicians and the medical people with medical background would have given them some type of idea. So we really had a problem with using toothpaste during the day of Ramadan. So that's one disliked act. And also we said that the other thing that was not also mentioned is the hujama, which is the cupping. Some people feel very like fatigue and tired, so they give out blood, whether it's through cupping or like blood donation. So we said that in general, it is better to avoid it during Ramadan, so you can avoid the opinion of some scholars that did not allow a large amount of blood to go out of the body. Of course, if it's for medical reason, we all and the scholars agree that it does not invalidate the fast. But if it's done optional, I just want to do it. I just want to feel better. No, this is where we just would avoid it, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah ta'ala, that should do it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Inshallah, as I said, if you need the slides and what have you, I will inshallah email it to you. I do really thank you all, inshallah ta'ala, for tuning in. This is, inshallah ta'ala, we're doing it this year on YouTube channel, which means as we end the session, it will automatically gets uploaded on IAR's YouTube channel. So you can always go back to the video and review it again for review, for checking some other points that maybe you missed or you were not able to have enough time to take some notes. Now, before I end, I want to request from my dear students, inshallah ta'ala, a request, and inshallah that request some of you will be able to fulfill, and I would deeply appreciate that for many reasons. It would benefit you, benefit us, and benefit the ummah at large. As we kept slides last year, it was very difficult to have somebody that would commit all the time for it. And this year, I do not have the person that committed last year, again, because life is very challenging and people, it's very hard to commit. What I would like from my students is to volunteer among themselves so we can rotate. Not from today, because today's everything that we reviewed has slides and it's all documented. But starting from tomorrow, if I can have volunteers, inshallah ta'ala, that would take notes of what we will discuss, the next rulings that we will be discussing from tomorrow all the way throughout. It's not one person, but rather those who feel that, mashallah, they have the talent to take notes and to turn those notes into a document, like a question and answer. It could be put on slides, it could be just sent on a Word document, and then we can upload it on some slides and what have you. That would be extremely beneficial, because as we do these sessions, we're building a bank of questions and answers on the rules of fasting, which all can be put together, inshallah ta'ala, in a booklet later on, with, of course, enhancements and edition and editing to it and whatever, and upload it to our website, where many people around the world and around the globe would look up these questions and answers. And the many questions that we receive throughout the month, we can take from our document. All I need to do then, I just take from our document and just email it to them, so you will get the ajr of those. So inshallah ta'ala, if you would volunteer tomorrow, I would love to see some of you that are able to volunteer. If we have like 3, 4, 5 people, would be great. Then we can rotate among you, so not only one person that would commit for the whole week and what have you. So think about it, give it some thinking, and inshallah that's an opportunity of khair and sadaqah jariyah that you will see the ajr of it during your life and afterwards as well, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah reward you, inshallah, and I will see you tomorrow, same time at 12:30. Jazakumullah khair, Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your good deeds and elevated to the higher ranks of Jannah. Allahumma ameen, ameen, ameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you tomorrow, inshallah.